How is it going, guys? So we're just finished up at the Elite Summit. I'm joined by Mr. Phil Brady. Phil was our MC for the weekend. First of all, Phil, how did you find the whole thing?
I loved it. Great experience, great energy in the room, some brilliant speakers, and lots of insights, but also lots of people taking action based on what they learned. Because I think one of the things that stands out is knowledge is power, but knowledge is only really potential power. So you have to actually act on some of the information, right? It's just information.
Yeah. You actually have to do something with it.
100%.
Good.
So I think it was a brilliant weekend. Looking forward to dinner tonight.
Yeah, it's
Kind
going
of
to be
round
great.
it off, and yeah, excited to see what happens from this now next.
Good stuff. There was something in your presentation yesterday that I found interesting. I mean, there's probably less things that I don't find interesting that you say. So whenever you talk, I always find some sort of value from it. But there was something that you were talking about yesterday that I think will resonate with the clients of the gym. We were talking about bullshit, and you had Connor in the middle of the room screaming, "It's all bullshit, baby!" And everyone was laughing. But it came with a real serious kind of lesson behind it. I'm not going to go too much into it, but the takeaway for me was, the things that we tell ourselves. So saying that it's all bullshit, the things that you think about yourself, it's all bullshit. So can you explain that idea where you kind of came up with the idea of saying it's all bullshit, and how saying that would help someone who's going through a fitness journey?
Yeah, awesome. So where it came from is, so I coach leaders, entrepreneurs, business owners, I coach personal trainers, and I coach really general population as well in mindset. And I care deeply about this because years ago I had an experience where somebody was struggling with their mindset. So I studied for roughly 20 years by now and wanted to pay attention to some of these things that both support us in thinking good about ourselves, but also the things that hold us back. And there's this, to focus on this, we rarely pay attention to the good. I spoke to somebody just afterwards today, and he said, I sit at home and all I do is self-loathe. I give out about myself, I beat myself up, I point out all the negatives of what I've done. And I've looked at this guy for years. I told him recently I wanted to do business with him. And I've said, I look up to this guy. I wanted to work with him. I wanted to find money to be able to work with him. And so he was believing bullshit or telling himself bullshit. And it's holding him back, but it also holds me back. It probably holds you back. And these things, so in certain traditions, the way that they describe it is that it's like this dust that covers what you can see in a mirror. So it's like dust that settles on the mirror and stops us seeing ourselves clearly. And its intent is always self-love. Its intent is always to keep you safe and comfortable. So it's this act of protection, which is love, but actually it's making you retreat from the world, not open up to it. So when you get clear on the bullshit that we all believe, not good enough compared to that person, how could I ever compete or compare? I'll never be able to do that. I'm not a public speaker. They'll never like me. Everyone around me wants me to be like this. So there's lots of shoulds that make up that bullshit. I should be this, I should be more like this, I should be less like this. That person expects me to be this type of person, so I'm afraid of actually disagreeing and wanting to be somebody else. All of those stories are just repeated thoughts and patterns that we've taken on and just told ourselves multiple times. But we can also let go of some of that bullshit. And I don't know if you want me to go into, do you want me to keep talking?
Yeah, go for it, man.
So there's two lists that I'd invite you to write, but I'll only pay attention to the second one. The first one lots of people write is the bucket list. So this is the things you want to do before you die. Reading Mark Manson's book, The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck, he talks about a fuck-it list. And what this is all the things you write out that you want to stop giving a fuck about before you die. So bucket list is all the things you want to do. A bucket list are all the things you want to let go of.
Yeah.
I'm not good enough. I'll never be like that. Who am I to think that I could ever do that? I'm not likable. I'm not whatever. Like all of this, it's all bullshit. And it's easy for me to say that when I'm holding this bullshit and it's not yours. You might have different stories or beliefs, and it also becomes part of our identity. I could never do that. I'm not a public speaker. I don't want to be one of those gym rats or gym bunnies or whatever it is. That's again a story of something that we think. You get to hold the pen of your story, and if you don't want to follow the bullshit, you can write a different story. And I think people forget that your control is not always in what happens to you or the environment or any of those kind of things. It's actually in how am I going to react and respond in this next situation? And you get to create that next response. You don't always get to... sometimes that's all that's in your power. What are you going to focus on? Am I going to focus on the challenge and the problem or the opportunity that could come from this? If I focus on the challenge, I will come up with bullshit that will say, no, I could never do this. I'm only going to fail. So I won't even try. Again, the intent is to keep you safe and protected, but it's not serving you. And we're not getting the full self that you are or that you will bring to the world or the people that are in your world. And sometimes that's enough. It's literally, and I said this to somebody yesterday, I'm talking for a long time, but hopefully it's okay.
We're all good.
I don't know how long we're meant to be talking for. I could talk about this forever, as you can probably tell. But somebody yesterday, and maybe this is an example of it, it's probably a little bit touchy, but hopefully it's helpful. Somebody yesterday sent in a question. So we have panelists and they send in questions ahead of time to the panelists that I was asking them as the MC for the event. One of the questions was somebody that had lost their father to cancer and now their mother was having cancer or experiencing cancer. And the question was, they are self-doubting themselves in posting content and putting themselves out there. And again, it's the same with this self-doubt that holds us in. It's all just this story that's keeping us safe. And so what I invited this person to think about, whoever it was in the room, because it's anonymous, is our hearts close to the world to keep us safe through stories or beliefs or these kind of cages of thoughts and ideas that we have about ourselves. Like, people should be like this. Golf drivers are like this. And that gives me an element of certainty and control over my little cage and world, so I feel safe within it. So for him, he was in this cage of maybe I'm not good enough, or who am I to, or I'm afraid of being hurt again. So my invitation to him was just slightly just open your heart enough and test out, maybe in this example, posting content to Instagram or Facebook or wherever it is. And then do that slowly but surely. What will happen over time is you'll trust yourself to open slightly more to more of who you are. And that bullshit that actually was enclosing you just kind of reveals itself for what it is. It's to just make you aware of it, but it's not to hold you back. You can move forward with that. It's a speed bump. It's not a stop sign. So that was hopefully some of your bullshit is to protect you and keep you safe. It's an act of self-love, but actually we can undo it slightly by just paying attention to it and honoring it and saying, thank you for that, but actually I'm committed to whatever this future vision is that I want to work towards, and that can be quite empowering.
Yeah, I remember that from yesterday as well, and that was a nice moment because, like you said, it was anonymous. And the person obviously had a very specific backstory with what was going on with family members. But you saying, like, open up and let people see you bit by bit at whatever pace is... I think the words that you used was your pace, not anybody else's pace.
Yes.
So they were worried about creating content and, you know, this awful thing that was going on in their life and what it might look like to other people. And actually by opening up and going at their own pace and showing piece by piece by piece, they were actually helping everybody else around them. And you could feel that even with the question being asked in the room, that there were so many people in there who were like, man, I was so worried about posting content because of maybe what everybody else thought. I'm so glad that person said that, because now I'm ready to kind of open up a little bit more myself.
And maybe just to add to this, because a thought just came into my mind. That opening up isn't always to other people. Sometimes it's to yourself. So that reflection in the mirror that's covered in this kind of dust of bullshit that's holding us back from seeing us as we are, it's not always an opening to the world like posting on Instagram. Sometimes it's an awareness of actually how good we are and how good we want to be for other people and to serve and help other people. We want to show up as our best for other people. Sometimes it's just getting awareness of that, and that's enough. And it's at your own pace. Some people can do it very quickly, and then they might retreat quicker as well. Other people have opened, and it takes a little bit more time. We can't compare. It's your journey, always. Just trust that opening and trust that you will see more of who you are because you let go of some of the stuff that tells you who you're not.
Brilliant stuff. Brilliant. Now, any of you guys who don't know Phil, where the hell have you been, first of all? But if they want to know a bit more about you, see some of the stuff that you post on social media, see a bit more about what you do, where can people find you?
Facebook or Instagram, it's Phil Brady Coaching. We'll get both, but on Instagram it's Vitamin P Coaching, which is for Vitamin Philip Coaching, but actually it's Vitamin Physiology Coaching. Because again, we can have these ideas, and I'm really good at coming up and thinking, but I was less good at doing. So the physiology piece is actually, how can I action some of this shift in thinking and bring that to the world? So that's the intent.
Brilliant, brilliant stuff. So guys, go look him up on Instagram, get your daily dose of vitamin P. And again, thank you very much, Phil.
More than welcome. Thank you.
Cheers.
Thanks, everybody.